Good morning, everyone. We just finished learning the first essay in Torah Or about Noah today. Torah Or is a book which was written by the first Rebbe of Chabad. In Chabad, there were 7 Rebbes, and the first one was called by Shneur Zalman. And here he explained what is the relevance of the waters of the flood waters of the days of Noah to me and you today. Because the Torah is a book of life. It's teaching us day-to-day lessons. So he said that basically God created the world in a very confused way. And we're in the world, especially after Adam didn't get the point, he sinned. So the world became more and more and more confused, to the degree in the days of Noah that everybody completely misunderstood the purpose of the world, and the world became filled with destruction. It says Hamas. The world became filled with thievery and destruction. And so God sent the flood to destroy the whole world. But it says the Rebbe, it wasn't to destroy the world. The flood was to fix the world up. And it ended up that there was no good left. So all the bad got swept away, and that was everything. Everything had defiled its way in the world. Everything in the world had become crooked, except for Noah. So God swore he's never going to do it again. Never going to, but still the point of the world is still here. But it's never going to get to the point where everything in the world is evil. Everything in the world is selfish. Selfishness and evil is synonymous. So therefore, God made another way, another type of a flood. And that's what this is hinting at. And the flood is the trials and tribulations of being in this world, especially in making a living in the world. We see how money makes people crazy. Money makes people insane. There's a saying in Yiddish that if you want to see what God thinks about money, look who he gives it to. There's these people in the world that are trying to make a new world order because they're rich. They're rich because they're rich and they're wealthy and they have money, so they can do anything that they want to. Right? People are intimidated by losing their money. You lose your job, you lose your this, and they're intimidated by making more money. You're going to be rich, you'll be great, you'll be famous. So we see what money does and how money makes people crazy, and causes people to lose their whole humanness and their whole purpose why they're in the world. So it makes people selfish, simply. It brings selfishness. So what does God do to alleviate this situation? He said he's never going to bring another flood. So the flood becomes that itself. The whole idea of money, people realizing that money, especially, and peer pressure and desires for standing, what other people think about me, and etc. All these things are making me lose my mind. And suddenly people realize, hey, I have to rise above this. And it's almost impossible. You should know that the Shulchan Aruch, which is the basic book of Jewish law, distilled from all the laws, from the discussions of the rabbis in the Talmud, it begins by saying, don't be ashamed of people if they scoff at you. Don't be ashamed of peer pressure. Because to do what's right is often very deeply affected and prevented by what other people think. There's a lot of people, it used to be very common that Israelis, after they finished the army, they would leave Israel, they would go to wherever they want to, and they would become religious. They suddenly realize, I'm a Jew, I have to act like a Jew. Suddenly they were confronted, they would come back to Israel, and their friends would laugh at them, and they would stop doing the commandments because of peer pressure. So God put this in the world, this thing, peer pressure and worrying about money and the effects of the negative effects of the world, that a person can suddenly grab himself and say, what am I doing? How can I do this? I'm just a human being. How much time have I got to live in the world? I'm not going to live one moment truthfully. Really, this is the real me. Just to be famous and stand up in front of a bunch of 20 million nobodies, and then that makes me somebody. 20 million zeros doesn't make me a one. To have $20 billion in the bank, right? That doesn't make me important, right? Just because I can do things in the world, because people say I'm important. So it comes that people start to connect to the Creator. They start to connect to the fact that they're being created. Everyone's being created, and everyone's being created for a reason, and everyone can feel this reason. Something that's called conscience. Your conscience bothers you. Right? This can also be diverted and perverted, but nevertheless, so the troubles of the world bring you to reveal your soul. Oh, that's what we. And the way out of it is to think about the Creator, and especially the Jewish people, their ark that they can float above everything are the commandments and the Torah. And this, it's not talked about here. Here's talk about how you can save yourself, how you can contact your. But after the flood, God says to Noah, go out of the ark. Because our purpose is not just to save ourselves from the world and to survive. Our purpose is to fix up the world, to correct the world. And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about now. So here, let's go. Having to understand, in Tefillas Baal Esek, the Rebbe said, just in passing, so to speak, right at the end of this last mimer that he had. One second, what happened? Annotate this. That people who are involved in the world, their prayers, when they pray to God, it's more genuine than people who sit and learn Kabbalah and learn that, even though their prayer is also genuine. He's not trying to knock down other people's prayers, but a person, when he's in the world, even though he hasn't got such a deep awareness of the inner meanings of what he's saying, he's just saying the simple meanings of the words when he prays. Jewish people, they pray 3 times a day. So especially the morning prayer, it's much longer. And a lot of it is the prayers of King David and the prayers of the men of the Great Assembly. So working men have a much genuine heart, much more genuine heart. And the words are said more truthfully when they pray than people who are big Kabbalah geniuses or the pure, holy tzaddikim. Their prayers of the simple working man are more genuine. Okay, so at first glance, it doesn't really sort of make any sense, because the working man, he's all bothered by his troubles, and he didn't have that much time to really sit and think about who he's praying to and what he's praying about and what the real meaning of the words are. He's just praying because Jews pray 3 times a day, and he understands a little bit of what he's saying. A little bit of what he's saying. He says, no, how can his prayers be more genuine? So here we go. You need to understand that the prayers of working men, but Madrega Gavo is so high. We have to understand Inyan, the whole idea of Yuridat and Neshama, why the soul came into the body. Now here especially we're talking about Jewish souls, but this applies to everyone. That the soul, shehi nitzutz elokus ba'olam hazeh, it's a spark of God in the world, beguf. The nefesh habahamid, and in the animal soul. Why did God put the soul? Let's say, okay, we're talking here, let's say only about Jewish people. It should only be that the Jewish people should get this point. The Jewish people are called the sons of God. It explains in the 2nd chapter of the Tanya what this means, that they have a deeper purpose in the world and a deeper connection to the Creator and a deeper responsibility to the world than everybody else. Okay, so why did God put this deep, pure soul, his only son, the Jewish people, Why did he stick him in such a terrible place, into the world, into a body, into an animal soul? Leo Tarud, to me, to be constantly bothered, the machshavos v'daigos parnasa, and the worries of parnasa. It should be like, you got these other religions, you got like the Pope and these people, they sit in some, the high place, high end and austere, and they go walking around in just white garments or something like that and blessing everybody. That's the way every Jew should be, right? Huh? The Jewish people are the sons of God. I mean, that whole religion is a big lie. It's a big lie. I mean, it's just a very successful lie, but the whole thing is a big lie, right? The only going to heaven is worthwhile, and every human being is a sinner. You got to, and nevertheless, they have one person, or their priests. They're separate from the world, and they're you don't talk to them. And the Jews are a nation of priests. And look at them. Where they put them into, God put them into bodies, into souls, and give them all sorts of weird talents and things like that they don't want to have anything to do with God. What can you expect from them? Why did God do such a thing like that? Zeu Yerida Gadol, this is a tremendous descent. To forget about God is the most, how do you say, seemingly practical thing in the world. It's like a person that has to, run a running race, and they put a big backpack on him that's like 50 pounds. Just take it off. You're not going to win the race with this. Oh, you got all these Torah and these commandments and things. You're in a race, man. You're in the world, the rat race, the whatever it's called, the dog race. You're in the world. You want to get along in the world. Throw away the ballast. Throw off the unnecessary baggage. And Judaism is the unnecessary baggage, right? You don't need that. Why did God put us into this world where there's so many troubles and so many problems and things like that? And in addition to that, we have to do the Torah and the commandments also. Why? We're supposed to be the chosen people, the priests of God, Mamlechas Kohanim, Goy Kadosh. Why did God do this? We have to say, that the reason God did this descent is for an elevation. There's a purpose behind the Sha'achar Yerida, that after this descent into the world, the nitlavish baguf, and the soul is put into a body, benefesh bahamis, and an animal, natural soul, as tochalalos, it can elevate itself lamaila, higher, ayude ahava, by means of love, bakal meodecha, with what's called love, which is unlimited. Shu beligavul, which is unlimited, right? That's what we just finished saying, that by means of the flood, which are the troubles of the world, Noah was raised up, and the bad was removed. Kamaim result, like it says, Tov zemalachayim. When God saw everything that He made and it was good, He said, "That's the angel of life." Tov me'od, right at the end, before the last thing, it says God saw everything that He made, right before Shabbat, and He said, "Tov me'od, this is very good." That's the angel of death. Now, the angel of death is also called the evil impulse. This love comes because of the animal soul. How so? The animal soul, like we see, malata below. The power of the animal, gadol mikoach adam, is greater than the power of man. Once in a while, you get somebody who like really works out or something like that, and he has the same power as a ox. You get 1 out of 8 billion people that's powerful like that. But all oxes are powerful. They don't have to work out. They don't have to do anything special. Same thing, every human being has what's called an animal soul. Every human being is an animal soul. And the Jewish people, their animal soul in some ways is worse than others, because they have this thing called the godly soul, and the animal soul comes to oppose it. So what's the purpose of the animal soul? When you tame the animal soul, when you control the animal soul, there's tremendous power, and that power is revealed in love, loving the Creator. Kamokain, similarly, Maila above, the rabbis say, that's why it says that a place where a Baal Tshuva, person that returns to God, is standing, Tzadikim Gamorim, even the most pure Jews cannot stand. In other words, a Jew that had problems connecting to God and that didn't want to have anything to do with connecting to God, either because of ignorance or whatever reason it is. And then he decides, hey, what am I doing? I am being created all the time. Let's just get connected to the reason why I'm here. That's called returning, Bali Tshuva. He returns back to Jewish consciousness. A person like this, enemy, Benesha Bechinas Bali Tshuva, that's higher than a tzaddik. A tzaddik is a person that never loses this Jewish awareness. He's always aware of the Torah and the commandments, etc. Why? A person that returns to God is higher than a person that never left. Why? Because the Bali Tshuva is Bechili Yoter, because it takes more power to return back than to just continue on a straight path. Ubakoach is Gabrus Gadol, and with power, it takes a tremendous power of determination. Hainu mipenesha bechinas nefesh abamis, the animal soul, whom bechinas olam tohu, comes from the world of tohu. Like it says, when God created the world, it says it talks about, it hints at it when it talks about the offspring of Esav. It says these are the kings that ruled before there ruled the king of Israel. That's the level of, it's hinted at that there was a level, an order of creation, which was called Tohu, where everything was pure, but there was no harmony. All the different spheres were all pure. Like the 10 spheres, they were all pure, but there was no harmony between them. And then God wanted it to be that way, and then he went what was called the breaking of the vessels. In any case, this power of Tohu is tremendously powerful light of God, which has no place in this world. God wanted in this world that there should be harmony. And the world of Tohu is pure, but there's no harmony. There's no working together of the different 10 aspects of the soul or the 10 aspects of God. So these are pure. It's like an animal, something like animals in this world. Animals in this world, a cow is always a cow. An ox is always an ox. There are animals which their nature is that you can tame them, you can train them, right? You can teach a dog to walk on two legs and act like a person. But that's part of its nature. Tohu is that nothing could change its nature. God's kindness was pure kindness, like animal kindness, pure, unadulterated. That's the world of Tohu. And God wanted it to be that way, and he said he broke these vessels of Tohu, and these powerful lights got scattered all over the world. And that's the egotism which is found in the world, the ability of everything to stand out and be individual and not care about anything else. That's basically Tohu, and that's why this aspect of Tohu, the power from this aspect of godliness, which is called Torah, is above this, what's called Tikkun. Tikkun means the order that God wants in this world. God put man in the world in order to make order in the world. That he should have all these temptations and all these the world offering him power and pleasure and things like that. He should resist. We see that Adam did not resist. Like it says, Asher Malchu Lifnei Melech Malchei Ben Israel. These are the kings that ruled before. This is the kings of Israel that ruled. That's the idea of Tikkun. That's the idea of Adam, the first man. He was supposed to be the maintenance man for the whole entire world, to fix everything, put everything together. Okay, so the whole world, if so, we have, comes from this aspect of Tohu, which is tremendously powerful, and man is here in order to make order out of it. And in order to do this, you have to draw from tremendous deep soul powers, which we have, but which we don't reveal unless there's a challenge. So therefore, we see that the world challenges us and causes us, gives us the opportunity to reveal who we really are. Well, the Havin calls it, let's understand this. In Isa Midrash, it says in the Midrash that in the beginning, God rose up in God's mind to create the world with midas adin, with the aspect of severity. God wanted everything in the world to be exact, perfect. Something like the world of Tohu. Perfect, exact, powerful. Everything was going to be itself. Rosh ein olam mitkayim. The world cannot exist in such a way. Shitov midas rachamim. He added in mercy. Because what would happen if everything was exact? God wanted an exact world. Everything had to be perfect, exact. So anything that wasn't perfect wouldn't be able to exist. And God saw that the world wouldn't be able to exist that way. It was too easy to stray a little bit from the path that God wants us to be on. So therefore, God added the aspect of mercy. But pirush, it doesn't mean kamosha olam sobrim, like the world thinks that the aspect of the severity of God, midat din, is simsum and menias hashpa. Means severity means exact. Right? Anyone who strays from the path is doesn't have any life. God has made everything very, very stringent. That's not what it means, this of severity. Because this is one of the aspects of God. God is good. So it can't be that the severity of God means only limiting. God limits himself. Like it says, these are the 10 aspects of Atzilut that enlivens everything. And also it says, inside of our bodies, we have blood. Blood is warm. The main thing of the life force of man is blood. And blood is warm, hot, because it comes from God's severity. So this severity of God is not necessarily punishment. It's also the force of life. Ela Pirush, what does it mean, midat din? The aspect of God's severity is gevura lashon tagborat. It means power. Power, like if you take a hose, and you put a nozzle on it and it directs the water so it becomes powerful. Shekoach v'chayos me'orain. So if this is the power of the light of God, behid gabrut yoter is very, very powerful than God's kindness. Shu nimshach lamata mata, which is drawn down below. Water can come down to a very low place. But it's very cold. It's like a flood of just God's kindness. It's very nice, but we don't recognize life from it. In order that God can bring life into a person, it has to be warm, gvura, limitation, direction. Which is shaboch hachayas me'orein sof. The life in general, the whole world is created from God's kindness. But it's created in God's kindness in such a way that we don't see it, we don't feel it. It's cold. We don't feel the life, which is not the case. The Gevura, when it's God's severity, then we see action. Then things become dynamic. That's the life force from Or Ein Sof that becomes powerful. We see things are different one from the other. Alken, therefore, memela automatically, Lamata, when God's creative power comes and in a chain coming down lower and lower, Nasa Bodin, Misha Eno Roy Lakabel Ashpa, Eno Yochol Lakabel. Therefore, when it comes down into the world and God wants to direct his life force, so it comes down to be very exact. Let's just take the human body, for instance. The human body is alive. It's alive. That's a good thing that it's alive, being alive. But it's very, very exact. If there's a little tiny hole in, God forbid, in a person's lung or a person's heart or a person's stomach, right? A little tiny hole, then the person won't live long, because everything is good. So you can say, well, that's not right. I mean, if God was really kind, he would make it that we would just, you can make as many holes as you want. What type of kindness is that? Everything is so exact, so precise. And not only that, it came that science became one of the biggest oppositions to the existence of God. The scientists, they understand everything. We don't need God, right? God doesn't create the world. It's created by, hey, look, we've got atoms, we have this. So all the details that there are in the world, this, so to speak, limits God's revelation. And not only that, it seems to make everything very, very severe in the world, right? Very severe in the world. Here we have these people, especially we saw the Germans the Japanese, they developed these whole new ways of killing people, right? Why should there be possible to kill a person at all? It should just be life, right? God is everywhere. God is life. It should just be, living. That's all, right? That's how it is up in heaven. It says, no, in heaven is no good because there's not enough limitations. So the problem is that God wanted there to be a world, and God is good, and limitations are good. That keeps us alive and warm. But the problem is that true, if a person doesn't do what God wants, then that's what's called, there's punishment and mistakes. A person could live a mistaken life. Sometimes that's the biggest punishment of all, that a person just missed his every opportunity that he had in the world to do good, and he was just selfish, which is not the case, the aspect of kindness, right? That's the idea of gevura. Gevura means that it's possible to make mistakes, which is not the case of chesed. Chesed, there's life is cold, then it can be drawn down below. Of Bechinas Gevuros, this is chayas, this is life. That's the seven kings that we talked about. So if God would have made the world by means of just pure kindness, and that's really the way it was, so that's what you get, the generation that became totally, how do you say, decadent and crooked. That's why God had to bring a flood, because the world, he was too kind. God was too kind. He just let everything go. Said, let everything go. So everybody just went to be for pleasure. They didn't care about each other. And eventually they started stealing from each other, which is basically what we see now going on in the world, what's going on in the world, right? Kindness, everybody just do what you want to, you be what you want to, with who you want to, when you want to, how you want to, do anything you want. All of a sudden you see that there's confusion in the world, right? You see what just happened in Mali, but they're taking everything away from everybody. Everything is just becoming, there's no ownership anymore. People are stealing from each other. Here, these people from the Hamas, they just came and killed everybody, and everyone said, "Oh, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. They killed people. That's good. They're killing people. They're taking away people's life." The whole world is just filled with just total confusion because of there's not enough judgment. There's not enough judgment. Okay, so it says. So in other words, God made a world, and in the world things are very exact. And in this world, it's possible to do bad. And when a person does do bad, so he is gone far away from the Creator. But nevertheless, the temptation to do bad is very, very great in the world. Why did God make it that way? And the Alpi Kabbalah, according to Kabbalah, we explained that this thing of Tohu, there was a lot of light and there was only a small amount of vessels. Ubechinas a tikkun, the aspect of tikkun, which that's what we have to use to fix up the world. This is exactly the opposite. A lot of vessels and not much light. Right? This world is. We don't see godliness. Perush, riboy or, a lot of light means the orva chayas bobis gabrus rav. The tohu means that there was tremendously powerful light of godliness, of life. Like we say animals. Animals are like an example of what it was tohu, right? They're very, very individual, and some of them can be very, very powerful. You get an ape is like 10 times as strong as a person, as the strongest person. Kikala Yud Spheros, all the 10 Spheros are with tremendous power. Kamo Bechinas Chesed. That was the way it was in Tohu. Chesed, the kindness of God, this is powerful kindness, and also it was all the 10 Sphirot. V'gam also, 1 second. There is something definitely missing here. They can't call the Yud Spheros, V'gam, something's supposed to be here. Okay. Look, and therefore, Lo is Kalos, therefore, in Tohu, there was no harmony whatsoever. Every individual aspect of God was too powerful. Loch, and therefore, Loya Yochal Litkala, there could not be any inclusion one with the other. There was no harmony. You couldn't build a world from that. These were the basic building. It's something like a painter has a palette, and on the palette are these different colors. If you just use those colors as they are, and you never mix them, then the picture can't be really very beautiful. As soon as you start mixing them, then you can start to use them. The same thing is also the 10 Sphirot. They were individual. Each one was pure, but you couldn't do anything with it. So God, therefore, there can't be fixing the world. In order to fix up the world, there had to be the level of, and that's the idea of the Jewish people, there had to be this aspect of, I don't think we're going to finish this mimer. Tikkun, what is tikkun? Namely, three, it's called kavim, iskalus. There had to be an inclusion of the aspects of God, one and the other. Chesed, Gevura, etc. So let's take an example, an orchestra, right? You got an orchestra. So before the orchestra, they have this warm-up usually. So what do they warm up? Usually the people that play an orchestra are accomplished musicians. They're people that know how to play their instrument. And every instrument has its a unique expression, right? The tuba goes very, very low, and then the violin goes very high. And so they can, and also you can play fast, slow, right? The tuba can only play one note at a time, and a violin can play two, three notes at a time. So before they start to play, each, right, they warm up, they have a warm up. So each instrument goes the full limit, right? Unlimited. So the violin is like pure violin, just playing, and the highest and the lowest and the fastest and the and jumping around, and the tuba plays the lowest it can possibly play, and the last. So that's good, right? That's really good. Every instrument, you paid money to go to an orchestra to hear a concert, and all the instruments, they, full throttle, no breaks. That's music, right? That's music. A tuba is pure tuba. The violin is pure violin. The clarinets are pure clarinets. Everybody's just playing, but it's total confusion because every instrument is just doing what it wants. True, every instrument is doing its utmost. You're getting the total performance of every single instrument, but it's confusion. But on the other hand, you want every instrument to be unique, and you want every instrument to have the ability to go its full, what is range, whatever it goes, but it has to be controlled. So the ability and the uniqueness of each instrument, that's like tohu. That's like tohu. And tikkun is when the conductor stands up and he makes don't play all the time, don't play the highest, don't play the lowest, play what it says in the music. Play, and not just what it plays in the music, play what it says in the music, sometimes a little bit quieter, sometimes a little bit louder, sometimes a little bit this, sometimes the first violin has to play louder than the second violin. You control, that's called tikkun. That the whole world is like that. And the whole entire world, everything is individual, everything is unique. But alone, if uncontrolled, everything is confusion. Everything just becomes totally confused. That's sort of like it was in the 60s. I'm sort of a product of the 60s, right? The hippie movement was like 2 years. Everybody just did whatever they wanted to. And it was like really great for about a year or something like that. And then all of a sudden, the one person got in other people's ways, and nobody was working, so there wasn't enough money, so people started taking from each other, and then they came to Hell's Angels. Some people wanted the gevura, like it says over, they wanted to fight, and they wanted this, and so everything just fell apart. There's just total confusion. But 1 year or something like that, 2 years, it was great. It was just great. Everybody was doing what they wanted. It was love and peace. And then the money ran out. Daddy's money ran out, and the gas ran out of the cars, and whatever happened, the whole thing fell apart. That's basically what's happening now. So it says God wants there to be tikkun in the world. God wants there to be order in the world to show how kind, how patient God is. Like the rabbis say, how God was patient until Abraham came. So it says all the generations were sinning and sinning until they came Noah. That was like 1,600 years of sinners. God sort of looked the other way until it just got out of hand, and he had to send Noah. And then there was another 400 years or whatever until the generation still didn't get the point of it until came along Abraham. I think they made the Tower of Babel and all this. The Tower of Babel, by the way, was made in the lifetime of Abraham, right in the beginning of Abraham's life. Why did God do all this? God did all this in order that there should be order. They should take all these different things like the orchestra and make order out of them. So I'm going to have to skip a little bit. So he said the same thing as when God built the Holy Temple. It says it was a great day. It was tremendous happiness. And also on that day, it says that King Solomon got married to the daughter of Paro, which ended up being a big sin. It says that was the day that Rome was formed. Rome was formed. It said that the devil put a stick in the ground, and then from that came Rome. Rome, even though the Rome came, what is it, 1,800 years later, or something like that, after King Solomon. They destroyed the second temple. So on one hand, it says that two were opposites. There were two opposites together, namely what? That the temple was built, but on the other hand, King Solomon did a sin, right? He married the daughter of Pharaoh. So therefore, but because there was the world of Tikkun, so both of these things could exist together. Okay, so now the Rebbe says that that's the whole idea of the soul of man. Man was born, it says that person is born, every human being has what's called three partners. The father and the mother and God. Even though that God creates also the father and the mother, but God gives credit to the father and mother because they choose to have a child, right? They choose to be together and to have marital relations and to have a child. So that little part which they contribute, and that's considered as their partner. So if so, we have already the idea of harmony. God, who is infinite, and people which are finite. So the body of a person comes from the physical, and the soul comes from the creator. Okay. So God made the world tremendously low, but he made it in order that we should transform it. That's what Rabbi Akiva said in the Ovdei Ratzono, Kach, Ose Ratzono Alachat Kama V'Kama. Rabbi Akiva passed by the temple, and he saw that it was destroyed. And he laughed, and his friends cried. And then they went by, there was a big party, the Romans making big parties. They took over Israel, and there was laughter and joy and music. And his friends, again, they cried and he laughed. So they said to him, "What are you laughing about?" And they said, "What are you crying about?" He said, "We're crying because the Holy Temple is destroyed and the Romans are enjoying themselves. Why are you laughing?" He said, "I'm laughing because exactly the opposite. If the Romans are having such a good time and they're going against what God says, so eventually when we, yes, do what God says, for sure we're going to have, how much more so will we have happiness and pleasure?" In other words, the whole idea of Judaism is happiness and pleasure. We see now that it's not exactly that way. It says because Judaism is connected to God, and God is the creator of the world, and God is infinitely good, but we don't see it because the world covers it over. But when the world stops covering it over, when the temple is built, then there will be Tainug Arein Kates, unlimited pleasure. Like it says, Hodu al eretz hashamayim. Like it says, only God's array of godliness is in the heavens and the earth. God eretz hashamayim. Unlimited pleasure. It says the heavens and the earth, that's just a ray of God. It says a ray of godliness is on the heavens and the earth. That's only just a ray of godliness. That's what the Romans got. That the pleasures of this world, Israel, which is not the case regarding the Jewish people, Am Karovo, they are a nation which is close to God, to God's closeness. Okay, so in order to get this tremendous happiness, which is awaiting everyone who does what God wants in this world, we're not talking about going to heaven. There has to be the world. That's why Rabbi Akiva laughed. He was happy. He saw the success and the happiness and the joy of the Romans that they got from the physical world, which is just a ray of godliness. How much more so the Jewish people will get from the essence of godliness. And just by the way, heaven is also a ray of godliness. It's just a higher ray, and it's from good. But it's also that's the idea of why the first Rebbe said, Mili b'shamayim. King David also said, Im chalo chavasi. I don't want to be with you, God. I don't want to go to heaven. I don't care about any of the pleasures of this world that all the Romans got and everything. I want you, God. And that can only be achieved through the world. That's what we say, Baruch Atah, and that's the blessings. That's what it means when we make a blessing. When you pray and you make a blessing and you say, Baruch Atah Melech HaOlam, we say, blessed are you, God, the King of the world. The greatness of God is only to be found in this physical world. And also in this physical world, we have the commandments, Asher Kirishanu b'mitzvotav, that God sanctified us with his commandments. Because through the commandments, Nishpa and Nimshach Lamat is drawn down to be Liot Mamali Somer, from the essence of the commandments. That's why is drawn down this little ray of godliness to create the worlds. That's the Melech Olam, or Malchus Olam, that the God is the king of the world, means that he is the source of all of these pleasures and of the world. But he's the king of the world, and we connect ourselves to the king, who is the source of all this, through the commandments. And the commandments can only be done in this physical world. So that's already hinting at why being in this physical world gives us access to the highest aspects of God that there can possibly be. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to skip a little bit more over here. Here we go. Let's just do this here. So we can make use of these lights of Tohu, these pure lights, and by means of the Torah, and use this physical world, like it says, Noach, like it says by Noach, it says, B'chamisha also shivi, so that's the idea of Shabbos. Shabbos means not that you should stop working. Shabbos means pleasure. It's what it says on the 15th day that the ark, it says, Shavita, it rested. Shavita acher milchama. This is a resting. This is talking about in the Megillah of Esther. Megillah Esther, it says on the 15th day they rested. This is a rest after the war. This is a pleasure that they got. Victory. There's two types of victory that we can get over the tohu, over the confusion of the world. But it can only come through battling for good in this world. There's two types of this victory, this pleasure of victory. Bechinas Shabbos Hatoah and Shabbos Eloah. Yom Shkula Shabbos. One will be prayer. Prayer is called war. And prayer is also called Noach. It's also called resting. Call it tefillos, all the prayers of the weekday are elevated by the prayers of Shabbat. So when we're the working man in the middle of the week, when he prays, so he takes a little break from the world and he attaches himself to God. He reattaches himself to the reason why he's here, to his creator. And like I say, according to Judaism, you're being created all the time. It's not just that Adam was created and everything just came out from him. We're saying that God is creating us all the time. But we forget about this. When we pray, is we reconnect to the Creator. And that's what the whole Psalms about, the whole book of Psalms. King David had terrible problems, but he was always reconnecting himself to the Creator that put him into all these problems, because they're there for a reason. And the reason is to realize that all these problems come as part of a big plan from the Creator, and that this plan is not revealed yet. When we pray, we a little bit do reveal the plan. We reveal that there's a Creator that's doing all this business. Maybe we don't understand why. That's in the 6 days of the week. But on Shabbat, then we get a much clearer picture of what the plan of creation is. Then all the 6 days of work, we don't do any work on Shabbos. This refines what's called all the 248 sparks that fell down from this world of Tohu. there's different times, like in the middle of the night, etc. All the 6 days of the week, there's different ways. But on Shabbat, everything raises up into the level of Atzilut. Atzilut is the highest aspect of God. And Shabbat, that's the way it's supposed to be. The doors are open for us. Whether we go in or not is different. But a working man, he really understands what it means to rest. That's what it says. On Shabbat, there's a little glimpse of what's called the world of Atzilut. Atzilut is synonymous with holiness. There, God and his bodies, in other words, the world and God are totally one. You can feel it a little bit. So also, the whole idea of prayer. Also, all of the deeds which you do every single day, b'chol yom, in order to get a livelihood, or even the learning of the Torah that we do every day in the week, it's elevated by means of prayer, by means of love with all of your heart. That's what's called the lower Shabbat. But in the future, when Mashiach comes, and we're supposed to be in any second, I mean, Mashiach already came. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the Mashiach. But the redemption has not yet come. And the redemption is going to be only when all the things that Mashiach is working for will be revealed. Then there will be, it says, a day which is totally Shabbat. Then everything, the whole world will reveal this level of Atzilut. The Creator will be revealed in the creation. The big picture will be visible to all. We'll see why we're here and why the world is here. It'll be above, not like it is now, that after Shabbat, you have to go back into the weekdays again. That this little bit of Atzilut that we see on Shabbat becomes concealed again in the first days of the week. La'asid lavo, in the future, by Mashiach, there'll be a new type of love of God, a new type of a flood of love and of life and of understanding. Not the flood of the confusion that we have to raise ourselves above, but a flood that's going to raise us. Then everything will be elevated to what's called this world of Atzilut, pure godliness. Then, and pure godliness doesn't mean there'll be this brilliant white light of pleasure and everybody will just float away and will just be, dissolved in the one unity of the great or whatever it is. That's not so. That's maybe other religions, that's not, but it's not true. All the other religions are lies to various degrees. The revelation, true revelation of God can only come in this physical world. We'll see why God wants there to be this physical world. It's not just a testing ground. It's not just boot training so we can go up into heaven. If anything, heaven is the boot training for this world. It gives us a little bit of a glimpse of the Creator, an experience of the Creator. So we come into this world and we can see that the Creator is no less here than in heaven. In fact, he's even more here. Here we have a job to do in order to reveal his pleasure, God's pleasure here. That's called the upper pleasure. That's Noach. Ki ruach hatuma avir, it says that all spirit of impurity, of egotism will be passed away from the world. There won't be any more death. That's the way it was supposed to be before Adam ate from the tree. Like it says, Eshet Chayal Ateret Bala, this physical world is just called Mother Earth. The physical world, it'll be the crown. We'll see how precious that this world is, physical world, and the commandments especially that are in it, even more. And that's the idea of why the prayers of working men are higher than those of tzaddikim, because working men, they deal with the world, and the world is higher than all the spiritual levels. It's just that highness of the world is only potential, and it will be revealed when everyone takes the advice and the teachings of the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now let's learn the Devar Malchut. 1 second.